Okay, so thinking about a move to Kuala Lumpur, maybe for work, or maybe you're just curious about, the expat life out there. Well, you sent us this really interesting article from moveandstay.com. They've been helping expats and business travelers find places in Asia for, wow, over 25 years. And we're going to dive deep into one of the biggest questions, monthly rent in KL. What's the deal?
Yeah, moveandstay.com, they definitely have the experience. And this article, it really gives you the full picture. We're talking average prices, sure, but also all those little extra costs.
Right, the ones that sneak up on you.
Exactly. And the rules, the rental regulations, it's all in there.
Okay, so our mission here is basically to unpack all of that. We'll look at rents in the city center versus the suburbs. We'll dig into what actually drives those prices and, yeah, those pesky utility bills and other bits. By the end, you should have a really solid grasp of the KL rental scene. No nasty surprises, hopefully. Right, Kuala Lumpur. Sounds exciting, but yeah, figuring out living costs, especially rent, and it can feel like a huge puzzle. This move and stay piece, though, it seems to really break it down. What strikes me right away is just the sheer variety of options and, well, the price tags.
Oh, absolutely. And what's really fascinating, like the article points out, is that big gap between city center prices and the suburbs. For a one-bedroom, say, in the city center, moveandstay.com suggests you're looking at maybe RM 1,400 up to RM 3,500 a month.
Right.
But head out to the suburbs, and that drops to RM 1,000, maybe up to RM 3,000.
Wow, that's quite a range even in the suburbs.
It is. And for a bigger place, a three-bedroom.
Wow.
In the city, think RM 3,000 to RM 7,500. Yeah. But in the suburbs, it's more like RM 2,000 to RM 4,000. So it immediately highlights that key decision, right? Convenience versus cost. Being right in the middle of everything, or saving some money further out.
And it's not just about where it is on the map, is it? The Move and Stay article makes it clear there's a whole checklist of things affecting the price. Like how close are you to the LRT or a bus stop? That matters.
Definitely. Public transport access is huge.
Then obviously the size of the place.
Yeah.
How many bedrooms, bathrooms, but also the amenities,
Yeah.
Does it have a gym, a pool, parking?
All those extras add up.
Yeah. And even, has it been renovated recently? That bumps it up too.
And demand fluctuates, of course. Plus, the article mentions something interesting you might actually be able to negotiate.
Really?
Especially for longer leases, yeah.
Huh. Okay, that leads to a good point the article raises. What are your absolute must-haves versus the nice-to-haves?
Exactly. You need to figure that out. Is being super close to work non-negotiable? Do you need that balcony? Prioritizing, like Move and Stay suggests, really helps you filter your search and avoid paying for stuff you don't really care about.
So what kind of places are we talking about? Like building types, Move and Stay lays out a few common ones. You've got your standard apartments and condos, super common downtown, lots of different facilities.
Right. The high-rises mostly.
Then there are serviced apartments, more like a hotel, right?
Right.
Furnished, services included.
Yeah, often good for shorter stays or if you want things taken care of.
And then they mention landed properties, terrace houses, bungalows. These are more like standalone houses, usually in the suburbs.
That's right. Ground level, often with a bit of yard space.
So who would each type appeal to? Thinking about maybe short-term flexibility versus settling in long-term.
Well, connecting that to how long you plan to stay, which Move and Stay kind of guides you towards. If it's a short work assignment, maybe a few months, that service apartment could be perfect. Less hassle,
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All-inclusive.
But if you're relocating for a year or more, maybe an unfurnished apartment or even one of those landed houses gives you more space. Feels more like home.
Okay, let's get specific on areas. Move and Stay points out the obvious. City center equals premium price. You're paying for convenience, being near offices, attractions, transport.
Bukit Bintang is mentioned as being generally pricier.
Right, and those brand new condos with all the facilities, they'll command top dollar.
But, as the article also highlights, you can often get more bang for your buck in the suburbs.
More space for the same rent or just cheaper overall?
Exactly. Areas like Mount Kiara, Bangzar, Petaling Jaya, they're mentioned as having a good balance. Still got shops, restaurants, transport, maybe some greenery, but more affordable.
The average numbers Move and Stay provides really tell a story, don't they?
They do.
Like a one-bedroom averages around RM 2,323 in the city, but only RM 1,666 in the suburbs.
That's a significant difference.
Yeah, nearly RM 700 a month saved, potentially.
Yeah.
And for a three-bed, it's even starker. RM 4,604 city average versus RM 2,698 suburban average.
Big jump.
But then you got to weigh that saving against maybe a longer commute or not having everything right on your doorstep.
Of course. And it's crucial to remember, as Move and Stay cautions, These are averages. The market changes.
Good point. Always moving.
So you need to keep an eye on current listings and trends when you're actually searching.
Okay, let's talk about those other costs. It's so easy to just fixate on the rent number.
The hidden costs.
Yeah. Move and Stay reminds us about utilities. Electricity, water, gas. They estimate around, what, RM 287 for a decent-sized place? But it varies wildly.
It really does. Depends heavily on usage.
And then internet, maybe RM 115-ish for good speed. Mobile plan around RM 5060.
Those sound about right based on the article's ranges.
And that tip about air conditioning, that's a big one, right? Especially if you're not used to the heat and humidity. That can seriously hike up the electricity bill.
Oh, massively. That's why Move and Stay's advice to ask the landlord or even previous tenants about average bills is so smart. Get a realistic idea.
Yeah, definitely. Budgeting properly means adding all this stuff in.
For sure. Don't just budget for rent. Budget for rent plus utilities plus internet plus phone.
And speaking of internet and phone, the article notes there are choices, different providers, and maybe even room to haggle a bit.
Apparently so. Worth checking coverage maps too. Make sure you get good signal where you'll be living.
And read the fine print. Hidden charges, data caps.
Always read the fine print. Setting up auto payments is probably a good shout too. Avoid late fees.
And then there's just .life. Move and Stay reminds us, groceries, transport public or ride-hailing entertainment, healthcare, cleaning supplies, it all adds up.
You need a column for everything in that budget spreadsheet.
Okay, on to the slightly less fun but absolutely vital stuff. The rental agreement, the lease.
The legal bits.
Move and Stay really stresses this. It's a binding contract. Read it carefully. Understand it.
Please do.
Look at the lease duration, usually a year, the exact rent amount, clauses about rent increases or what happens if you need to leave early, subletting rules.
And if something's not clear, ask. Don't just sign it.
Absolutely. And the deposit.
Yeah.
This is often a shocker for people. Move and Stay says expect 2, maybe 3 months rent for the security deposit.
Plus the first month's rent up front.
Right. And sometimes a separate utility deposit on top of that.
So that initial payment can be quite substantial. You need to be ready for that.
Definitely. And get receipts.
Yeah.
For everything. Every single payment.
Crucial. And understand your rights as a tenant, which Move and Stay touches on. You have a right to quiet enjoyment, basically, to live peacefully.
And the place needs to be habitable.
Right.
Basic utilities working, necessary repairs done.
Yes. And your landlord needs to give you proper written notice if they want you to leave. They can't just kick you out unfairly.
Good to know. The article also suggests taking photos or videos before you move in.
And when you move out. Yes. Brilliant tip from Move and Stay. It's evidence of the property's condition, helps protect that security deposit when you leave.
Smart. Okay, so how do you actually find an affordable place? Move and Stay has some practical tips here too.
Using the big online portals, iProperty, Property Guru, that's standard.
But they also say check out local Malaysian sites. Might find different listings.
It could be worth a look. Setting up email alerts for new listings that match your criteria is also a good idea. Stay quick.
And the warning about scams seems really important. Never, ever send money before you've seen the property and met someone, right?
Absolutely critical advice. Be very wary of anyone asking for money up front without a viewing.
The article also talks about negotiation again. It feels a bit awkward, maybe, haggling on rent.
It can feel that way, but Move and Stay suggests it's possible, even common sometimes, especially if a place has been empty for a while or if you're offering a longer lease.
So do your homework on average prices in the area first.
Exactly. Know the market. You can politely point out any flaws in the property. Be firm, but be prepared to walk away if they won't budge.
Interesting. And timing your move. Could that make a difference?
Move and Stay suggests maybe. Potentially better deals in off-peak seasons, perhaps after major holidays. Maybe viewing midweek is better than crowded weekends.
Huh. Never thought about the time of year affecting rent prices.
It's all about supply and demand, I suppose. These are all good strategies, though. Being proactive, doing research, negotiating, it all helps.
Move and Stay also briefly touches on just like living there as an expat, the cultural side.
Yeah, just reminders about being respectful, modest dress sometimes, taking shoes off indoors, using your right hand, little things that show awareness.
Learning a few basic phrases in Bahasa Malaysia probably goes a long way too.
Always does. And it's good the article mentions the support systems available.
Right, the expat groups online, offline, international schools if you need them, language classes.
Finding your community, building that support network. Move and Stay rightly highlights how crucial that is for settling in and having a good experience.
Knowing there are resources like online forums, social media groups, places like Internations,
Yeah,
it's reassuring.
definitely helps you feel less isolated when you first arrive.
Okay, one last big comparison point from the article.
Okay.
Long-term versus short-term rentals.
Ah, yes, the pros and cons.
Long-term gives you stability, maybe lower monthly rent, but more responsibility for maintenance, right?
Generally, yes, you're
Yeah.
settling in more. Short-term offers flexibility, often includes utilities, which is handy.
But usually costs more per month overall.
Yeah.
And moving frequently can be a pain.
Exactly. Move and Stay provides some rough cost estimates, showing short-term can be significantly pricier per month, but you avoid that huge upfront deposit often.
But it really depends on your situation, how long you'll be there, what your priorities are.
Precisely. You need to weigh it all up carefully, just as Move and Stay advises.
Wow. Okay, we really covered a lot there, all thanks to this detailed article from moveandstay.com. Clearly, they know their stuff when it comes to navigating life in Asia. It's definitely way more complex than just picking an apartment online, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's the finances, the legal stuff, the location trade-offs, the utilities. Move and Stay's piece gives a really valuable roadmap for anyone considering renting in KL.
It really does. Thinking about this mix of like modern city life, but still relative affordability that Move and Stay highlights for Kuala Lumpur, it makes you wonder, what other Asian cities might offer a similar kind of sweet spot for expats or long-term travelers?
That's a fascinating question.
Perhaps something for another deep dive another time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks so much for sending this article in. Super useful stuff.